Oh, I'm jealous I didn't get one.
Microphones on.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I already read it. Sorry.
Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 13th. The time is 7:30. This is South Kingstown Town Council regular meeting. We have a special agenda this evening, which we'll get to in a second. But first, as always, is the pledge to the flag. Please rise and join me. Thank you very much. Item 3A is the swearing in of our new town council member, Liz Gledhill. Dale, do you do that?
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will be true and faithful to the United States and support the laws and Constitution thereof, and the laws and Constitution of the state of Rhode Island,
I do.
the town charter and ordinances of the town of South Kingstown, and will and truly execute your office as a member of the town council of the town of South Kingstown until November of 2016, or until legally discharged therefrom.
I don't have an issue with that. We'll get some pictures taken. Hold on just a second, folks. We're going to have a photo op here, and then we'll get back to business. This is going to cut into the 18 minutes.
Look how cute. Oh, that's nice.
Come back soon. All right. Will the clerk take the roll?
Council President Collins,
Here.
Council Vice President Healy,
Here.
Councilwoman Clow,
Here.
Councilwoman Gledhill,
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
All members present.
Item 4 on our agenda tonight is the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
I make a motion that we approve item number 4, A and B, from the work session of September 28th and the regular session of September 28th, 2015, as presented.
Second.
I'm going to abstain from the vote, just so you guys are aware, since I wasn't present for those.
Okay.
All right. Well, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And abstentions?
Abstain.
All right. By a vote of 4 to 0 to 1, that motion carries. Item 5 on our agenda is the consent agenda, and I believe we have a change that we'd like to make.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. However, I would like to eliminate under number 8, Communications A, a request dated September 25th, 2015, from Byron Cahoon, requesting the installation of lighting at the dog park that has been received, and as he is here tonight, I think that it would do us better if we take it off the consent agenda, and if he wishes to speak, let him speak.
I second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That motion carries 5-0. And it brings us to item 6 on the agenda, licenses. And 6A is a resolution granting a victualling license to Turner Provisions LLC, doing business as Pure Pizza, of 328 Main Street. It's subject to approval by the Police Chief and Director of Public Services, application by Jordan Becker. Jordan, are you here? Please come forward to the podium. And just say your name for the record and where you live.
Good evening, Jordan Becker. Right.
And so I think we know about Pure Pizza, but tell us about it. And so everybody at home can know.
Sure, absolutely. I think at this point it's a bit of a fixture down here. I purchased the North Kingstown location about 4 years ago, and when I found out that the folks who previously owned it were ready to sell, it seemed like the next logical move. So it's not changing too much about it. It's going to be continuing to do business as usual. Hopefully, we'll continue to participate on all the stuff that goes on down on Main Street, and that's it. Nothing really.
Great. Any questions? Great. Well, I'll entertain a motion for this.
I'll make a motion to approve license number 6A.
Second.
Nope, we're good, we have 2 seconds, we're also.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, that takes care of those. Item 7 on our agenda is a public hearing. A public hearing relative to proposed amendments to the town code. As follows, Chapter 6, Finance, in the purchasing article, Article 2. And this would add language that states, contract change orders. The town manager is authorized to approve change orders to existing contracts without governing body approval in an amount not to exceed 10% and not greater than $15,000 in cumulative total to the original contract amount. Should change order approval be required exceeding said authorization, and obtaining governing body approval of said change order would cause delays in work which may affect the life, health, or safety of citizens, then the town manager may approve such change order and request ratification by the governing body after the fact with fully documented information explaining why approval of the change order was necessary. Steve.
The town's purchasing ordinances at this point set up specific standards based on the value of a contract to be awarded. Anything below $2,500 is at the discretion of the department to get the best price. Anything between $2,500 and $5,000 for general materials has to have 3 written quotes. Going up from over $5,000 goes to formal bid. Over $10,000 goes to formal bid if it's a construction project. What we're looking at is that the town issues a number of contracts throughout the year. Sometimes, once the work is completed, we find that there's additional work that should have been added to the project or was unknown as being necessary when the project was originally established. It may be a smaller dollar amount of $200 or $5,000, and what we're looking at is to have authorization through the manager to be able to sign off on those change orders rather than having to hold the project up or not order additional equipment until the council has had an opportunity to ratify and approve the increase for that change order. My objective here is to be able to have a smoother workflow and also to make sure that work that should be done while the contractor is in place is done, rather than us saying, well, we don't have the extra dollars at this point authorized, so we're not going to do it, and we'll wait till the next contract goes out. That's not going to provide us with the efficiencies that we need. So I'd ask the council's approval. The other thing this does is it recognizes that in those cases where a change order is necessary, where public health and safety would be jeopardized if we held off, that I would have the authority to be able to move forward with that change order, knowing full well that it would come back to the council for full ratification. I'd ask council for approval as on the ordinance amendment as presented this evening.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the council?
Steve, you said during the work session, this is similar to what other towns are doing?
Yeah, this is really, I think, a carbon copy of what North Kingstown has in its procedures at this point. We did not have that flexibility brought into our ordinance. I'm not sure why, but with the new accounting controls we have in place, I think it's the next step in terms of best management practice.
Any other questions? Are there any questions or comments from the public on this item, which is 7A on your agenda? Seeing none,
I'll move to close the public hearing for item number 7A.
I'll second.
so moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that
Aye.
motion carries unanimously.
I will move to approve item number 7A.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously as well. Item 8A, under communications now, is a communication dated September 25th, 2015, from Byron Cahoon requesting the installation of lighting at the dog park. It's been received and placed on file. And it's going to be referred to the Director of Leisure Services. But before we get there, please come forward, Byron.
My name is Byron Cahoon, 311 North Road in Wakefield. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the council about something that's near and dear to my heart because I'm a dog owner. I bring my two Scotties to the dog park quite a bit, and it's a great, great place. I have to give the town manager, and I think Mr. Nada was the one that originally got to go, and Ella Whaley, quite a few people, a lot of credit. It really is a superb place. People come from all around the state of Rhode Island to use the park. It's grassy fields. It's common fence line where the big dogs and the small dogs run together. The funniest thing you ever want to see, you got a Chihuahua and a Great Dane running back and forth along the fence line. But it's, unfortunately, this time of year, we can't really use the park after dark. The sunset's earlier and earlier. People have a real problem when they get home from work trying to get over to the park to give their dogs some exercise. This is a bad time of year for that. Wintertime it's not used that often because of the snow and stuff. In the summertime, you probably, you don't need the lights because 8:30 it's still light out. So, but this time of year and again in the spring, it would be a big help to put some lights there. And I realize this is a tough item always to spend money in these tough budget times. When the dog park was originally conceived of, a bunch of us got together and we helped clear the land, and then the town workers came in and did the lion's share of it, but people just showed up there. We had a fundraiser to help defray the cost of buying the fence. And so a lot of community outreach was going on at the park, and people absolutely love it. And if it's possible, we could to explore that. I think it would greatly facilitate the use of the park, for a couple hours after dark, so people can come home this time of year and get over there and take advantage of letting their dogs run. So that's my take on the whole thing. I talked to Councilman Veely. He suggested I write a letter, and that's what I've done. So that's the name of that tune.
Byron, how late were you thinking of, you wanted the lights on until?
I would say even 9 o'clock would be more than sufficient. A couple hours after sunset, that would do it.
Okay.
And I was talking to a person in Narragansett, and he talked about National Grid having a program for lighting, doing solar outdoor lighting. And I haven't checked further on that, but I think maybe that would be the way to go. Mr. Alfred put the water station down there a couple of years ago. He said he was going to do it, and he did it. That was an easement issue with National Grid, and that was a hurdle to go through. And I think we'd run the same thing with going through underground service to feed lights to the dog park. If that can be accomplished, I talked to a local electrician, and he's more than happy to provide his service for gratis. And I have a small excavator, I have a small business, and I could probably excavate if that's something the town would allow, and to just defray the cost. Not looking to make a big expenditure. I know this is tough. You people have to deal with budgetary issues every night, but this is something that, if we could make it happen, it would really be beneficial to the people in town.
Byron, you make
Yes.
a couple of points in your
Yep.
letter here that I think are important.
Yep.
One is that you think you have a way to defray some of the costs, and I think that's
Yes.
important. And the solar aspect could eliminate that right-of-way issue.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said to me personally
Yep.
that I think is important is that you're not looking to light it like daylight, like we
No.
do some of the sports, tennis
Yeah.
and athletic courts.
As is, yes.
So
Yeah.
I guess the procedure is to go through the rec
Yeah.
commission,
Yeah.
and the ball has started to roll, and
Good. I appreciate this time to talk to you and see if we can do something like that. It would be a great thing for the community. It is a great success. If you own a dog, or if you're a dog owner, you'll know that people just love the place. It's a big community environment. When people go there, they're very respectful of the other dogs. They can instantly clean up after their dogs, and I think it's well run. And the town should take a lot of credit in that. It's I've been told it's the best park in Rhode Island. People go the one in Newport, I guess it's not that good, and other ones around the state, they don't rate as high as the one in South Kingstown.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I also have to agree with Joe. I love your passion, and I have to say that I like the fact that you have yourself or a team of people who are willing to help if the town
Yeah.
needs some help to defray some of the costs.
Yeah.
Any kind of fundraising or things of that nature for something that you're extremely passionate about
Yeah.
is a good thing. And I've been to that dog park many, many times.
Yeah.
It's like going to Cheers. Everybody knows it.
I know.
You let the dogs run, and then you just
Exactly.
commiserate with everybody else.
Yep.
It's a great social environment, not only for the animals, but for the people that visit
Yeah.
it as well. So,
It's a great thing.
thank you for your passion.
All right.
I do think the solar lighting is something that should be looked into.
Yeah.
I'd be curious about that.
Yeah.
Because I do think there is a problem with the power lines.
Yeah.
that,
If they were on poles, high poles, there would be a problem there.
Right.
But I think that the first step we need to do is to take a look at what the feasibility is and overall cost would be. Then at that point, we can work back from what the cost is and determine how you come up with those type of funds, whether they're privately raised or a mixture with municipal. And we can also look to whether or not Grid's got any discounting as far as the solar lamps are concerned. So first step will be to try to determine what the overall cost would be, and then go from there. Remember that right now with the dog park, we've got two sections there.
Yep.
So you've got a relatively large area that will have to be serviced if you were going to have lights, and particularly if they were going to be on Boston lamp type heights. That would be a number of lamps that would be necessary for that illumination. So we need to look at what the illumination level is going to have to be and what the cost would be and how many units it would take for that. And then at that point, we can decide where it goes. But all recreation projects, based on really state statute, we have a recreation commission that'll set priorities. The priorities are then incorporated into the capital improvement program, which then the council has final determination on whether or not they're going to maintain or preserve the priorities as presented with the rec department. So we can get that information and at least get the ball started with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something that'll be done in the short term.
People have asked me, they're going to, I think it's going to take some time. We have to work through this thing. But it's,
You might want to bring your flashlights, right?
yeah, that's right. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to
Thank you,
our
Brian.
attention. We look forward to hearing what you and the Rec Commission come up with. Do I hear a motion to send this to the Director of Leisure Services?
I make a motion to approve item 8A, subject to further investigation from the Recreation Committee and going forward in terms of what the overall costs and benefits will be to the general public.
Seconded?
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously. Item 8B is a communication dated September 25th, 2015, from Merlin P. O'Keefe, tendering his resignation as probate court judge, effective September 30th, 2015. It's been received and placed on file. What would we like to do with it?
I make a motion that, unless we want to talk about it a little bit more, to approve item 8B. We talked about this in the work session, and I'd like to have Dale send a letter, a recognition letter to Merlin O'Keefe and Merlin O'Keefe, and a thank you for his dedicated service as he served as the probate court judge.
I would just like to wish him well with his retirement. I know his wife just retired, and truly thank him for his time served and wish them happiness in their retirement.
I think I need a second on the motion.
I will second the motion.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. Item 8C is a communication dated October 3rd, 2015, from J.M. Newsom, suggesting a charter amendment to be put before the voters in 2016 to allow for electing council members to four-year terms. It's been received and placed on file. Is Jay here? Yes. Please come up to the podium and state your name for the record as you...
My name is Jay Newsom. I live in Kingston. I've been a resident of the town for pushing 36 years. And I'm interested in seeing town government become more efficient. And there are not a lot of ways to do that. But I think one way we could do it is to look at the term of town councilors. I think that running every 2 years is a real distraction from number one, getting the job done, and number two, getting the knowledge that is necessary to really be effective. I think by the time you've been in for 2 years, you're just getting the feel of things and understanding how the town functions, whereas a four-year term would certainly enhance the ability of town council members to do their job. I'm suggesting in my letter that the terms be split terms, that there be some way of either the presidential year having 3 people elected and the non-presidential election 2 years later would be 2 people. I think that this would also eliminate a situation that I'm not happy with, and that is where the top 5 voters get elected. This would, I think, enhance the competition and make for a stronger council in the long term. No aspersions cast to this council, but when you think about it, the top 5 in some cases could include people who had very few votes, relatively speaking, and we've all seen that. So I would encourage the council to really consider this. I think that even if you're not really in favor of it, you probably owe it to the members of the town to present them with the opportunity to do this. It's really, that's where it's going to end up anyhow. It has to go before the state legislature. There has to be they have to approve a ballot initiative to change the town charter. So, I would ask that you strongly consider this, and I think, timing-wise, as I mentioned in my letter, this needs to be done in the next month or so that it will be ready for the legislative session in January. And that would allow it to go on the ballot for the first time in 2016, but the first 4-year election would be in 2018. So it's like everything else. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you miss this legislative session, then it's going to be 2020 before it could be done. So I would really appreciate your consideration on this, and I think the town would too.
Thank you, Jay. We talked about it a little during the work session. I mean, you can stand up there, go back to your seat, whatever you want. And I think, you know, a number of people have come to us with suggestions for charter amendments. And we'll probably look at setting up a work session where we can try and get a lot of these ideas on the table, and hopefully you can come to that and present the case again. Hopefully it's not as time sensitive as I think we might have a few months before we need to get something to the legislature. But you know, we're going to be thinking about this and other issues. So I hope you stay involved.
Mr. Newsom, too, I just wanted to say I appreciate you bringing that forward, because I think especially during the special election, we heard from a lot of people about charter changes that they want to see, you know, particularly in the top vote getter, or the next vote getter getting a seat during the first year of the town council if there's a resignation. So I think this really, to your credit, got the ball rolling on, you know, like Abel said, having a work session, discussing some charter changes and getting those done for this year. So I don't want you to see that this is letters being put on file and think that there's not action being taken, because we are certainly listening and appreciate you bringing it forward.
Well, I do want to mention also that other towns in the state have done this, so this would not be, there's nothing unique about this. I'm on the EDC, I'm not speaking for the EDC, but a fellow member of the EDC, when I mentioned it to him, he mentioned that he had previously lived in Hopkinton and he had done it there. And I think North Kingstown has a four-year term, and there are probably many other towns in the state that have gone to that. So thank you very much for your consideration.
I'm just curious, though, if it were set up this way, the people that were running on the off year would probably have that low voting turnout, as opposed to the ones campaigning during a presidential election. I'm just curious about that. You know, if you were running, cost efficiency, I can understand the every 4 years, because you wouldn't have to do that. But to have a rolling election where then there's 2 on the off year isn't saving you any money, and they wouldn't have a big voter turnout, I wouldn't think. It's worth discussing, certainly, but there's some questions about it.
Well, I think, you know, when you look at it, we're going to have an election every 2 years anyhow. The state representatives are elected every 2 years, and I'm not sure about the state senators, whether that's a 2-year term or a 4-year term, but there's going to be an election anyhow. And the idea behind the split term is to allow a change to occur at the 2-year point if the people of the town feel that it's needed. You know, it's just like in the U.S. Senate. I mean,
It's
you know,
certainly worth discussion, absolutely.
I agree, and I don't oppose 4-year terms whatsoever. I also have a similar concern about the rolling terms, if you will. But more importantly, when we have our discussions, I do not want the establishment to say that you have a 4-year term limit, because it's the will of the people that puts the people in these seats. So I would really want the stipulation to be added, if there was a change in the charter, that the people who in this town get up and out to vote and speak for the people who represent all of our constituents, that a 4-year term limit, if you will, and then no more running or taking an absence from that would not, I don't think, be beneficial or give the voters the rights that they have.
yeah, I wouldn't like to see that at the town level. I might like to see it somewhere else.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, though.
All right, do I hear a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to place item number 5C on file, with a note that when we do plan a work session, we will certainly invite Mr. Newsom to attend.
I second that.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 And that carries unanimously. Item 8F is a communication dated October 7th, 2015, from Matt Finlayson, President of the Ocean State Waves, expressing their appreciation to the town. It's been received. How are you doing, Matt?
Matt Finlayson with the Ocean State Waves. Just wanted to thank all the members of the Town Council for all of your support through our first 3 years. Saw most of you at a ball game this summer. Liz, welcome. But thank you all for coming out, especially opening night, and all the support that we receive from the town has been wonderful. It was a great year on and off the field. We had over 15,000 fans attending home games at Old Mountain Field, with about 40 to 45% of those being South Kingstown residents, which is great because that's our community, but also about 60% of fans are coming from outside towns and coming into South Kingstown, which is good for small business. It was pretty cool the last game, although we lost. We had over 1,400 fans. You know, I was upset that night, woke up the next morning feeling like, wow, 1,400 people came to a Waves game. And that's without a lot of seating at Old Mountain Field. So imagine if we had a similar setup like Keene, who has a smaller population than South Kingstown or Montpelier, Vermont. Could be pretty amazing. The food trucks went well. Our internship programs with URI, Salve, Bryant, and PC were tremendous. It was great to work with the Rec Commission, specifically Rex, Terry, and Kenny. Everyone at their Parks and Rec department has been amazing with the Waves. The school systems, we did about 15 school readings and field days. Love doing stuff like that. We're going to continue to grow and serve the community in a positive fashion. We've really surrounded our organization with not just amazing individuals, but families and local businesses in this wonderful community. So we're very thankful, humbled, and love being a part of it. So, side news, Detroit Tigers just named one of our alums minor league player of the year. So hopefully we'll have a guy in the big league soon. But really appreciate all the support, wanted to thank you. And our black tie event this year will be March 4th at the Towers. But thank you all.
Congratulations and thank you.
We love having you here.
Thank you.
We love it.
It's really nice to have an update on all that stuff. Definitely a highlight of my year to throw out the first pitch there. All right, do I hear a motion on item 8F?
I make motion to approve item page 5F, dated October 7th, from Matt Finlayson, President of the Ocean State Waves, who is expressing his appreciation to the town, and it was received, and I further direct that we place it on file and wish them well.
I second that.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously as well. Item 9 on the agenda is comments from interested citizens. So this is your opportunity in the audience to come up here and tell us what we should be doing. Just state your name for the record and where you live.
Ella Whaley, taxpayer in town. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Liz Gledhill. I foresee a bright future for the town of South Kingstown with your recent election and winning the seat to the town council table. I wish you all of the best. You definitely, the work that I've seen, you've definitely been an advocate, open, honest, and most important, respectful. So I wish the whole town council a great year working together, and hopefully the seats won't change at the next election. So, good luck to all. And then I just also want to comment on the dog park, seeing that I was a member of the town council when that came to fruition. It came forward with Bud and Louise McLeod back in the day, and I just want to go on the record that I fully support, the letter that Byron Cahoon submitted for the lighting. It is a great gathering place for our town, and if we can extend those hours, that would absolutely be fabulous. And I want to thank the town council for their consideration and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Val.
Are there other comments from the public at this time? All right, any comments from council members?
I just wanted to say what a wonderful job I thought the town did handling all these special elections this year. I know Dale certainly had her hands full, and she'll be soon on vacation, and I wish her well and hope that, I think it's well-deserved and earned. I also wanted to mention, too, how there is I saw on the news, and I'm familiar with the family, there's a local girl who's gone missing. She is from Rhode Island. She's a graduate from Prout. She goes to school in Nevada, but is missing from Santa Barbara, California. And I encourage anybody watching or here tonight to find those stories on Facebook and share them with any friends that you might have that live in the area, so that her family can find her. She's been missing for a week, and I live across the street from her grandmother, Mrs. Dexter. My mom babysat this young woman, her name's Diane Thatcher, when I was young. And, you know, as a parent, you can't even imagine what they're going through. So just want to extend my thoughts to them. Hold that family in your heart tonight. And definitely, if you know anybody in the California area, share that story and try and get the word out.
Yeah. Any other comments? Great. With that, we'll move on to the town manager's report.
Just a couple of items that I need to reference. You were provided with a memo from Amy Reiner on the 10-8 package, where the South Kingstown Partnership for Prevention is looking for a work session with the council, and they're looking to do it on the night of a council meeting, but to have it start at 6 o'clock, so that you'll be ready at 6:45 to go into the work session mode. They've offered to do it on 3 different nights: October 26th, November 9th, or the 23rd of November. If the council can take a look at their calendars, if that's available, they'd like to provide information on the electronic nicotine delivery products ends, and what the implications are as far as the adolescent population in the community and some of the impacts that are anticipated. They've had a series of different workshops in the community, but felt that it was important as the community's representative to ensure that the council was aware of this issue. So if you like, we can pick one of the nights that you'd like to do it, and I can get back to them to schedule that session.
Maybe you can circle up at the end of the night and see what works for us.
I have a interview scheduled for the 26th, October 26th at 6:30, I believe.
So we should be looking at November, either the
November.
9th or the 23rd.
November 23rd.
November 9th.
Or the 9th.
Okay.
The second item I wanted to reference is that I've provided the council, and the public for that matter, with a copy of the 2015 annual report. This document is a document that looks at each of the municipal services and departments, looks at not just what they've accomplished over the past 12 to 18 months, but also the work product that where their efforts are at this point. I think it's a key document for the council. It's a key document for the community to understand what services we do provide, as well as what efforts are being made to either expand or to adjust service levels in each of the given areas. So it deals with everything from the police department down to the animal control program, all of our senior services, as well as recreation and administrative offices. I really would like to say that the departments have spent a lot of time in preparing the documentation, and hopefully it'll be useful to the community as well as the council as we go forward, because we are already in budget development mode.
So that's available, like if somebody wanted a printed copy, could they come to the town hall and?
We've got it electronic copies at this point.
Yeah.
We frown upon issuing them on paper because the cost is about $14 per document. We can provide specific sections if people are interested, paper copies, but I think at this point there's a very limited supply. They are available at the libraries as well.
Great. You're on.
That concludes the items I needed to review this evening. If there's no questions, I yield to the solicitor.
Unless there are questions, Abel, I'm all set too.
Very good. Don't see any questions. We have no appointments to make tonight, so we'll move to item 13 under new business. 13D is a resolution establishing a debt service fund for the payment of the principal and interest on bonds issued by the town, and authorizing that the tax dollar revenues for the general school, senior services, debt service, and wastewater funds be budgeted in an amount no greater than the actual tax dollars required to support each fund, beginning with the 2017 budget and as further described in a memorandum from the finance director to the town manager dated September 28th.
As I indicated in the work session earlier this evening, one of the things that we have done over the past 2 years is to upgrade and change our entire accounting system as well as the software that drives that. One of the major efforts that we're making is to provide greater transparency on how we spend money, why we spend money, and also to be able to capture what true costs are for each of the different municipal services. One of the concerns that I have in the budget presentation that we've used for many, many years is that it shows money being appropriated twice for both the schools, utilities, and senior program. What we want to be able to show is what the general fund actually has as far as municipal service costs, rather than have the general fund also inclusive of all the monies that are reappropriated in the school fund, wastewater fund, or senior program. Secondly, what we're interested in doing is providing better information on debt-related costs that are require the appropriation of taxes. Right now, the information is provided only through the capital budget, unless you look at the narrative explanation on the general fund. What I want to do at this point is to pull the debt service out of the general fund, set it up as an independent fund, where each of the revenues that offset debt service cost would be appropriated within that fund itself, and it would have the net amount of property taxes would then be the only thing that would show up in the general fund. That way the public would have a better idea as to how many tax dollars are necessary for those services rather than having to dig for the information. It provides greater transparency. It would also allow us to isolate costs. And if we have a debt service account, if there's more money appropriated than is necessary to pay for that debt service in a given year, let's say if we were to refinance, those monies could stay and be made available to offset future tax requirements going in. It would also give you an ability, if you had a sharp decline in property tax supports for one given year, to be able to over-appropriate, have it go to fund balance, and then be used so that you could have a flat dollar amount going out on a yearly basis rather than spikes. You don't have that luxury at this point, because if you were to over-appropriate, the dollars would go back to fund balance. This gives council better control as to setting policies, because you'll have a better handle on how money is expended. We're still, this doesn't reduce the tax effort requirements. It just simply provides a different presentation. It will require us to restate the current year budget as well as the closed year for FY15. But I think that even with that extra effort, it's necessary to be able to provide the public with a better opportunity to understand how their dollars are being spent. So I'd ask the council to pass this resolution as presented this evening to accomplish those two ends.
Right. And you also mentioned that this is basically what the industry standard is looking to do, so
Yes,
the
it is.
auditors recommend it.
Especially bringing the debt service out and not reappropriating dollars. This makes a lot more sense in the way the financial information can be presented. It'll also change the way we present in the audit document itself. So I think it'll be clearer.
Great. Any questions for Steve on this one? I'd entertain a motion to approve item D.
I make a motion that we approve page 6, item D, as presented by Steve Alford.
So moved. All in favor,
The
say
the
aye.
only comment I'll have is, I agree, Steve, this is definitely going down the road of more transparency, and for the average person, this budget document is very hard to understand. This will help in that respect, I believe.
I want to get it as detailed as necessary if people want that information, but I also want to be able to provide better summaries that may address just the global questions that come forward.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. Item 13E is a resolution authorizing an award of contract to James Jeremiah and Associates of West Exchange Street in Providence for wastewater engineering design and construction management services in an amount not to exceed $151,000, including a $20,000 contingency, and is further directed in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated September 22nd.
As noted in John Schock's memorandum of September 22nd, 3 firms submitted proposals. Jeremiah firm is the lowest qualified bidder at $131,100 plus the contingency that's been proposed. This will deal with approximately 12 different projects that will be involved in the wastewater, approximately 9 projects that will be involved with wastewater improvements that are necessary. Wastewater system, we always think of it as a new system, but it actually was installed in 1976 and 77. A lot of those components have to be replaced at this point. This will provide us with the engineering designs. It'll also define how much construction management will be allowed with the engineering firm once those bidding documents have been prepared and the contracts have actually been awarded. I would also note that with each of these projects, there's cost sharing because anything in the wastewater utility is a shared service because it's a regional program that services the university as well as portions of Narragansett. John's final page provides a detailed summary of what the projected cost sharing would be. I would caution that this is based on today's flows. The flows, if the flows increase in each of the principles or decrease on each of the principles, based on the year in which the improvement is actually implemented, would change what that share ratio would be. So this is a forecast as to what it would be based on a snapshot of flow percentages in the 2014-2015 completed year.
Great. Any questions on this one? All right, I entertain a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve agenda item 13E.
Seconded. Oh, sorry.
It is so moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. And that brings us to our final item on the agenda tonight. 13F, a resolution authorizing a transfer from the contingency fund to the outside agency, PD-NRI fund, in the amount of $4,500, is I believe what we discussed during the work session, to increase the FY 2015-2016 funding allocation for Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization, Inc., from $3,000 to $7,500 in order to further support PD-NRI's Transart Bus Shelter Initiative, and as further described in a memorandum from the town manager to the town council. And we have somebody from the public to talk about it, but Steve, did you want to introduce it first?
No, I think it would be better to let them present, and then we can deal with any of the issues after that.
Okay, Therese.
Hi there, me again.
How's it going?
Thank you
Welcome
for
back.
hearing us again. I'm Therese Martin from Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization. I believe I have some other folks here who may or may not want to speak in support of the project from various groups. The mission of the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization is to enhance the quality of life in Peacedale by expanding economic and housing opportunities, preserving Peacedale's historic, cultural, and natural resources and promoting smart growth and sustainable living practices. I think this is my third time personally coming before you with information on the TransArt project, and I know that Leslie Chenard brought this issue before the town numerous times since at least 2012. So I don't know into how much detail you want me to go about TransArt shelter.
For the benefit of the people
All right.
present, I don't think all of us have.
RIPTA has offered for the last few years a matching grant opportunity wherein they provide 80% of funding and the applicants provide 20% of funding for a custom-designed artistic bus shelter. Obviously, they provide shelter for RIPTA riders, and they also serve as a work of art, enhancing sense of place in the 10 or 12, I think, locations that they've approved for these projects. The RIPTA TransArt program has officially ended. They're not taking further applications, but they have reserved funds for a shelter in Peacedale pending our ability to come up with the 20%. The total project cannot exceed 50,000, so and it can't be lower than 40. So PDNRI's contribution should be between $8,000 and $10,000. Let's see. So we did petition the town in January, came before you in March, requesting the $10,000, which we did not get. We received the $2,500 that we had normally gotten and an additional $5,000. We have received $2,500 in a form of a legislative grant that we are prepared to put towards the project. In reading the memo that Mr. Alfred had sent to the town council, I think we might have a little misunderstanding about where our town allocation is meant to be put. You know, we didn't have commitment with RIPTA. We didn't get $10,000. We didn't necessarily earmark the full $3,500 for the TransArt project. We invested heavily in the block party, and we have insurance costs and other needs. So I did want to be clear. It looks like in that memorandum that we are prepared to put the $3,500 that we received from the town in its entirety towards this project. My feeling on that matter is that we've really invested that money already in the block party, and in our other endeavors, we maintain the Rotary. Not all of it. We did make some money back after, you know, we sought sponsorships, and we sold some swag, as we call it, T-shirts and things, where so PDNRI sort of recouped its own money back through that event. But my request in my second letter for the $7,500, it was really my intention to get $7,500, up to $7,500 on top of the $3,500 that we received after the March request. I know that there are issues with location. There are 5 or 6 stops on the Route 66 heading, you know, either direction in Peacedale that are pretty well traveled. We're open to discussion on location. We're not hard and fast on any single location. And I know that vandalism and the materials of the shelter has been an issue from the start, and also those topics. It's all very flexible in this program. We can highly customize if we can match these funds.
Now, forgive me for not knowing the whole process. If you go out and you decide you want to do a project in a particular location, you go out to bid, basically, and a number of people come forward with proposals for, you know, I can do that project for $40,000, I can do it for $50,000, go with the lowest bid, I would imagine. In that case, if the match only needed to be $8,000 and you already have the $2,500, would the town get back the balance, whatever that would be, $2,000? Do you know the answer?
Are you asking me, or?
Whoever can answer the question. really.
Okay.
It could
well-
work that way because what you're looking at, you would have it set up on a reimbursement basis. So if the entire facility cost $40,000 and there was $2,500 that was available for it, you would know how much was going to be necessary. So what you would do is a council would set a maximum amount. If what is being suggested is that the maximum amount that they would need is $7,500, I think what they're asking is to have $7,500 rather than $4,500 listed there as a maximum contribution that the town would make to the program. Because that 75 would have to be added to the $3,500 that they currently get. Is it 3,000?
Can I add to that?
Sure.
I'm looking at my letter from last week to Mr. Alfred, and I believe ultimately I left it, my request sort of in a range between 5,500 up to the 7,500. Either way, that would put PDNRI in a position to contribute the 20%. The minimum, you know, if we get the 55 from you and we can still raise another 500, then we get another 2,000 or whatever it is from RIPTA, you know, the more we can put in, the more we can get out of them. But we need a minimum to commit.
I just want to understand, so you're asking for 7,500, and then you'll be asking, this is where I'm totally confused, because we usually do this at the budget session, everybody comes to us, and this is kind of out of the norm, because I know you're under a time constraint here. So if I'm not mistaken, you're asking for 7,500 plus the 3,000 that you won't get right now, because that's not even approved in the budget as of yet. So your total commitment that you would like this year is going to be between 10,500 and 11,000?
Well, I'm talking about the 3,500 that, I'm sorry, the 3,000, I believe that already was worked into the budget?
Yes.
Right. I'm asking for an additional 5,500 to 7,500, or commitment of these funds, so that PDNRI can make it official with RIPTA that we're coming on board for the TransArt program.
I'm just curious about the block party. That was a very successful event, and I'm curious if you made a lot of money at that event. I would have thought you had opportunity there to make a lot and be here tonight saying we have a lot of money in the bank from that event for this project.
There was no admission fee. We had some minor vendor fees that our artists paid. We haven't looked at the final numbers. Our meeting should have been tonight, so we've postponed it. I think we spent, all told, upward of $6,000 on that event, between police, insurance increase, advertising, music.
Right.
And really, our only revenue was T-shirt sales and the vendor fees. Being a first-time event, we were really conservative with fees that normally a big event would be able to charge, say, the food vendors. We didn't charge them anything. We really had no idea whether we were going to have 300 people at this first-time event or 3,000. And what we didn't want to do is overcharge and leave a bad taste there. So our only revenue really was a very small 50-50 raffle. That was only a couple $100. T-shirt sales was our primary revenue source, and under $1,000 in vendor fees.
I just wanted, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, the block party was a great event. It certainly brought a lot of interest into Peacedale. I attended. I thought it was great.
It wasn't a fundraising event.
Right, but just from like the financial portion of it, when you're here and we give you $3,000 and then you come back saying that's spent, now we need this, and this bus shelter project was already in the works at that time, it kind of leaves me with thinking that you took the money and threw a party. And
No,
from a budget perspective,
I would say
that
we
just- that's the
recouped at least
concern.
as much as we spent. I don't mean to say we lost money on that
Right.
event.
So you broke even.
I think we did better than break even.
Yeah.
But my point is that if all, I guess what I'm trying to say is if every, penny we get goes to that, the TransArt project, we actually sort of take a hit because we normally rely on the initial $2,500 for general operating costs.
Right.
Including several community events that the group has thrown for years.
I guess I'm a bottom line person. First of all, I wouldn't want to be standing out in the freezing cold and in a really bad storm, so neither would I want my children or my family or anybody else for that matter. So I'm not opposed to this shelter, not at all. I need to understand the numbers, the bottom line, and you need our approval for a letter of understanding that a commitment. But you're saying between $3,000 to $5,500, maybe $4,500. I want a bottom line. How much money do you need tonight? And I don't even want to talk about the $3,000 because I'm hoping we're not even going to approve that until we go into budget. So I need to know what you need to be to make this a success and what is the bottom line dollar amount, because we have to vote on it, and we're going to be held to task, because guess who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers. And
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. I just don't want to, before Teresa gets up to say anything, I didn't need to cut you off if you want to finish your thought. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. I think that, I want to echo Rachel's sentiments that the block party was a huge hit, and I understood it not to be a fundraising event, but to be a community event. As many of the things that your organization does, it's more to bring people together, to encourage our sense of community, which I think is in your mission here. So I understood that not to be a fundraiser. I don't think that you, threw a party with the money that you received. And this bus shelter has been a project that I know you've been working on for quite a long time. We talked a little bit in the work session about some of the concerns that we had, just like you said, logistics. Where is it going to go? Who's going to maintain it? What happens if it gets vandalized, and how much it costs? Those are all, I think, very valid concerns, and I'm sure that you guys are going to come to us with those problems addressed. When I look at a project like this, it is an investment in our community, and it's a message that we're sending to our residents, to me personally. I think that, like Meg said, nobody wants to see anybody out there standing in the rain or the snow waiting to get around. It just sends the message that the town doesn't, if we said, we don't want a project like this, it would be saying, essentially, we don't care about that population of people that rely on the bus. And although, your numbers aren't quite maybe clear to everybody, as I understand it, you're asking for up to $7,500. And to me, and at the end of the day, could be a total of $11,000 with the $3,000 that we had already discussed. So to me, $11,000 is a small commitment to make to people of this town. And whatever those costs are to maintain that, if it were vandalized, if there was a problem, I think I can't imagine those costs to be so excessive that it would become a burden to the town. When you step back and look at the bigger picture here, I think that this is a great program, and I would like to see some more solid information about it, but I think that it's a small ask for what you're getting out of it, personally.
Just to clarify here, the 3,000 that, or 2,500, I can't, whatever PDNRI
3,000.
usually gets, that is a separate thing. It's not going to go towards this project, as I understand it, in the next budget. This is for the match for this particular program, which, I see as an infrastructure improvement for the town, which is great. But just to be clear, if we, again, renew the $3,000 next year, that's not going to be going to the TransArt. Is that correct?
Correct.
So do you know what the cost of maintenance is for these bus shelters in other communities? Because normally bus shelters have the advertising which covers the cost of maintenance. That's a concern that maybe this will become a yearly thing where you'll need more money to take care of this bus shelter, or are you assuming the town will maintain it once it's there?
Well, I know with all but one of the TransArt shelters in existence, the town does handle the maintenance. The MOU that RIPTA provided, which is their standard language, excuse me. They do sort of a cut and paste here where Peacedale, meaning PDNRI, is plugged in where normally the town is the applicant. In this case, this nonprofit is the applicant. So I did look into that, and normally, because the town is the applicant, that's their language. Normally, the town maintains these. I emailed today with the RIPTA rep I've been dealing with, and he's not heard of any significant problems with any of the transit shelters, some of which are 12 years old, 10 years old. And he did say that RIPTA covers them insurance-wise, but he couldn't give me many specifics as far as whether that's body injury stuff or major repair replacement. His understanding was that, just like in the memorandum, actually gets a little further on the second page, keeping it in good, clean, and neat condition would be something that would probably fall to a nonprofit. Regular and customary repairs, I would imagine that would mean things like cleaning up any spray paint or minor damage. But generally, that does fall to the town.
So it would be the town's responsibility. I'm thinking like of snow shoveling it out or any of those things, or just any cost.
Well, the town doesn't do that already, right?
Curious. I'm just curious if there is a cost. Everything has a life cost, and if I read correctly, this would be there for 30 years, and I'm not arguing the merits of a bus shelter. Certainly, I think it would be an asset to any community. I'm just curious what the cost would be. There is always a cost. So this initial cost, I can't see it stopping there. That's all I'm asking, is I'm just curious if you know from these other communities that have them what the yearly cost of maintenance might be for it.
I haven't gotten any information from RIPTA on that.
I did see the pictures, and I liked some of the designs, but that's not up to me to choose which one, should this come to fruition. But I also noted, and we are not in the communities that the pictures are from, there was one in particular that had an awful lot of garbage strewn about it. And I noticed that there were no trash bins or no, not that I'm an advocate because I don't smoke myself, but people do still smoke. There were no containers for any of that type of a situation. How do we plan on dealing with that? Are you relying on the town to clean up, I guess? Or I just don't know, because to me, there's still some vague questions that I have.
I mean, right now, there's a bucket hanging off of a metal spike sticking out of a cement cube that serves as sort of the barrier of a bridge. That I don't know who cleans that right now, if anyone does. Are you thinking that there would be more accumulation of rubbish, or?
If it's in a more visible spot, and you have a lot of riders that go through Route 66, and you got a couple of really bad days, they're gonna maybe take a little bit of an extra walk, go to a place where they have shelter to wait, and maybe congregate there for a little bit until the bus comes. So is there going to be like a trash facility? Is there going to be something?
All of that can be built into the design, if that's something that the town feels strongly about. Ultimately, if we can get funding, a committee gets set up and we work out the details and the requirements that we would put out in the RFP, where RIPTA would advertise and an artist would need to meet those needs and then come back to us for approval. So if something like a rubbish container or a discrete ashtray or something were something that the town felt strongly about, that can be included, of course.
Believe me, I support this. I just want to know where the parameters are going to fall in terms of overall maintenance, trash, snow removal. I think that's something we need to clearly delineate. Because what's going to happen the first time there's a really bad snowstorm, and God forbid somebody's going over to that bus area and they slip and fall as they're walking into it? Okay, is it RIPTA's responsibility or is it the town's responsibility? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of those liability issues already exist, but I do know that RIPTA has about 25 or 50 bus shelters that it will clean of snow, and if you can make the case that it's a well-used stop, then we could probably make that case to RIPTA.
That's my understanding, though, that's why they usually sell the advertising, so that's what covers the cost of the maintenance. I know the bus shelter at the Wakefield Mall, I think, has at least 2 little garbage cans and ashtrays, and they've got a whole bunch of things. I'm not sure who
Yeah, that's
empties that trash there, but
Lamar Advertising, I believe, is their group. But I think, unless we have more questions for Therese, Representative Tansey might want to speak. Is that why you're looking?
well, Therese, I certainly think you've worked very hard on it, and I don't believe anybody would argue against a bus shelter. It's just there are concerns with the cost going forward of it. Anytime you put a new structure in that the town's then responsible to maintain is of concern, and especially if it is, say it's a $40,000 bus shelter, and then there is vandalism, that could be potentially a big cost for the town to fix it.
There are 2 bus shelters on Old Tower Hill Road. Do those fall under RIPTA, or do you know if those are the town's responsibility to maintain, or RIPTA's?
Yeah.
RIPTA has a real hard time maintaining their bus shelters. It's been an ongoing
Yeah,
issue for them.
those don't get shoveled, I know that.
Well, that's
Lamar is
RIPTA,
supposed
yeah.
to do that, but they don't. But that goes into RIPTA issues, which we're not going to solve here tonight.
I'm just hesitant to make a big commitment of maintenance. We do a lot of cleaning up, we do a lot of planting, we do mowing and trimming and mulching. I know it is generally the intention of the current board of the PDNRI to see this thing through and to see that this shelter is in good, clean, working order. I guess I'm with you in that there could be big costs for these shelters. That's not what I'm hearing from RIPTA, that there have been any significant repairs or replacements needed on any of these, several of which are 10 years old. So I don't mean to not give you an affirmative on that. But I do feel that generally the towns are the ones who pick up the bill as far as materials and major repairs.
And do you have a prime location for this in mind?
We do, but we're open to suggestion because I know that that's weighing heavy on the town's mind is where this is going to go. There are loitering issues and vandalism.
Well, and I think also access for wheelchair accessibility along the sidewalk, so you know.
Yeah, there are a lot of narrow sidewalks that are
Right.
really probably barely meeting
Right.
ADA standards right now.
Right.
But there are a few places where it widens. Do you want to add?
Just about the snow and there's specific design elements in support of that.
Thank you so much,
Any
Therese,
further?
for the work that you guys are doing with this project. I think that, just applying for it, seeing this through, really following through with it, and everything that, PDNRI does is an asset to this community. And I think that in lieu of the effort that you've put in for this bus shelter, the town maintaining it, it sounds like it's not a huge expense. So I hope that we can figure out what those costs are and make sure that we're prepared to show how supportive we are of this. So, thank you.
And as an aside, I would just like to say one thing, and then I'll be done, because I know you poor thing have been up here for too long. It would be my hope and my expectation that you all have some type of a fundraiser, especially with the holidays coming up, to try to offset or defray some of those costs, because, again, you're going to be coming back to us for the additional $3,000. But I'd like to see that your hearts and souls are into this as well. So I'd like to see you do a fundraiser or two to help defray some of those costs.
That wouldn't matter to me. I do think, you certainly work very, very hard.
Oh, I agree.
And fundraising is a huge undertaking. I appreciate that the block party was just for goodwill, and I think that's certainly needed in the community. I just had thought with this looming over you, that was an opportunity to raise some money for it. That was my only intention then. I don't think at this point you, either we're going to give you the money or not. I don't think fundraising is something we want to put on you. But going forward, there should be something about the maintenance. That's my concern, the maintenance of it. Everything has a life cost. Everything has maintenance cost. This is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And, you know, I have read the materials and I've been thinking about this in great depth because I understand the need for a bus shelter. With this significant amount of money, I just have struggled with, is this the best way to spend it? We have a food bank right there in Peacedale that services so many families that this much money to them would feed a lot of families in our community. So I don't mean to ask so many questions of you, but I honestly have to think, is this where it's best spent? You know, we have hungry families in this community, and $7,500, $10,000 would go a very, very long way in helping them. So there's only so many, you know, $7,500 we can dole out, and that's just been my concern. I didn't want to look at this lightly, is all. It's right out of the taxpayer pocket. It's a big commitment.
I agree. I would ask you to consider that $7,500 should be a 30-year investment ultimately for the same population. The folks that are busing in to get their food at the food shelter or that are busing into the Welcome House.
That would be true if I knew the yearly cost. That's all. I'm looking at the life cost of it. I would like to factor in that yearly cost of maintenance into that 30-year price tag. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we've talked about it enough. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course.
Brown, how many shelters are you looking for? One? Well, there's one in front of the Wakefield Post Office that isn't used. Just sits there. Never. The bus doesn't even go by there. 66 goes to Wakefield Mall, uses Route 1 back and forth from the other plaza, Narragansett. It's been there for years, never used. And I ride the bus. I just wondered if you did a count on the number of people that utilize that station in Peace. I know what you're talking about, because when I ride the bus, they do pick up people there. But I would investigate with RIPTA, see if they can move that one to Peacedale.
Thank you. Other comments on this item?
I will keep it brief. Teresa Tansey. I put in for the $2,500 grant to take some of the burden off of the town. I think that this is an incredibly important piece of infrastructure that's a permanent part of our community, and it is an opportunity to help create that sense of place that we've done so much to do to create in Peacedale. Everything from just the commitment that village has made to art and making it a unique place. So I appreciate the offer on the other bus shelter, but this is an opportunity to do a little bit more, and I will actually look into seeing where other heavily trafficked areas are, if we could use another one, that bus shelter at another place. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Snow removal is determined by local ordinances. So it's the property owner. If it's in front of the fire department, then the fire department will still be responsible for cleaning it, just as though the sidewalk were there. So it's not creating a new burden, it's not transferring a burden, it's only putting in a piece of infrastructure, and that responsibility doesn't change. As far as maintenance goes, I spoke to Amy Patine today, and she had said that all but one of the Transarts are maintained by the MOU is for the town to maintain it, and the one that doesn't is the Onlyville Neighborhood Association, and they're not like a PDNRI that's run 100% by, volunteers. They have an actual staff. They have their own building. They have something like 25 different interns that come in and out, and people who are within the community kind of raising them up. So they've got an entire crew, in other words, to work on the maintenance of it. So that's what I was told today when I inquired from RIPTA. And the other thing is the design, it's completely up to the community. And when we met with them, I know that Council President Collins was there when we met with, I believe, Greg. And he said that any concerns that the community has are brought into the design elements. And so if you have a concern about vandalism or loitering or any of those issues, it can be designed in a way to prevent that. So everything from the materials they're chosen to the overall design. So whatever issues people have or concerns going forward for this, those will absolutely be brought to the table and worked into the design of it. So I'm here in support of it as a resident, but also as the Healthy Places by Design subgroup. We had a meeting just this morning, and a number of people said that they wanted to come and express their interest. There also happens to be a presidential debate on, and so I volunteered to come and speak on behalf of the group. So I just wanted to share the community support for that. And thank you. Any questions, I'm happy to answer, but I think Therese answered very well. Thank you.
Okay, then. Do I hear a motion on this? I think our options are, no, or between 5,500 and 7,500 is what we're being asked to provide.
What are we being asked? 5,500 or 7,500? Because you can't say I'm going to approve 5,500 or 7,500.
How about-
I'm looking for somebody to specify that in the motion. I think 7,500 is what they would ideally like to have, but 5,500 is what they would.
I would make a motion to approve item 7, or page 7F, up to $7,500. So a resolution authorizing transfer from the contingency fund. Do I have to read the whole thing, or?
I would.
Yes, please do.
Okay. A resolution authorizing a transfer from the contingency fund to the outside agency PDNRI fund in the amount of up to $7,500 to increase the 2015-2016 funding allocation of the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization from 3,000 to up to 75. No.
10,500.
Up to 10,000, I'm sorry. In order to further support PDNRI's Transart Bus Shelter Initiative, as further described in the memorandum from the town manager to the town council dated October 7th.
Very good. Do I hear?
In the pre-session, one of the things you were interested in doing was also having the agency come back and provide you with the specific location for the council to be able to review and approve through the Transportation Committee, and
The design and materials used.
design. Now, this is the first I've heard tonight that that it's town maintenance. We're certainly going to have to take a look at that in terms of what that impact is, because that's an annual. But I'm not sure you want to continue to have those items in there, because we are going to need additional information. We don't know the location. We don't know what the design is. That has to be something that we would have and have you approve in advance of that money being transferred.
Is there a way to put that into this motion here?
Be a contingency.
Have this as, the amounts just as Liz has put it out, but subject to the providing of the location and providing of the design subject to the approval of the council of the design and location.
Can I ask Therese and Teresa, would that, I know this was a little time sensitive, would that commitment meet your deadlines? I mean, is that what you're looking for? Just the verbal commitment contingent upon the plans and?
Yes, I think that would do.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think what I'm concerned with the most is that you need to be able to control, if the town's going to end up with the maintenance, we're going to need to control what the design is. Before we agree to the design, we have to understand where the location is and make sure that that location is an appropriate location from a public safety perspective.
Mhm.
So as long as you can say, we'll give up to that dollar amount, all I'm saying is make sure that PDMRI is required to come back to you so that you have full approval of what it is that your money's going to be spent on.
Of course. Mhm.
I'd be curious to see a cost analysis of what maintenance might be.
Well, maintenance isn't going to be determined until we determine what the substance of the
design
unit
is.
is. I mean, if it's a wooden structure, it's different than if it's a metal structure. So what I'm saying is, I can't really look at what the maintenance is. I'm not sure what that maintenance would be until I see what the structure is.
I just have a real quick question, and then I'm done with it. But this has nothing to do with CDB, whatever, the block grants. We have all these organizations that come from the community that we fund as a town that is a burden on the taxpayers. I'd like to see or know, because I've not been here very, very long, 3,000 to 10,500 is a big change in allocation plus maintenance. How many other of these smaller organizations that come to us and submit their applications have had increases that large? I can only recall one in 3 years that asked for a
Right,
I think the way I would answer you on that, Meg, is that I don't see this as an increase in appropriation. I see this as an infrastructure improvement that's a one-time deal.
Okay.
It means that when they come in for their budget next year, their base budget is $3,000. It's not $10,500. That's how I would look at it.
Okay.
Because I think that this is something that's out of the ordinary.
Right.
If in fact this was a reoccurring expense, then you'd really have to consider whether that was a viable proposal. But, if your determination is on a one-time appropriation, you've got it in the contingency. There's other contingency items that we're going to probably need throughout the year. So, I mean, I don't want to see you spending all your contingency 4 months into the year, because you've got to be careful with those dollars.
So would I amend my motion to say contingent upon the approval of the plans and location?
I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
I'd like to just clarify one thing, that the process through Transart is that we can't delve into the specifics of the design until after the funds are committed. A committee is then formed who puts together the outline and the basic scope of design that then goes out to bid. So the design process is heavily influenced by us, but we won't have that design. I think it's, you get the funding, you have 30 days to put the RFP together, then it's a 30 or 60-day bid process. Then that comes back to a committee, and then a final design is chosen. Just to be clear that final design is not
Right, but
step 1 or 2.
Trace, this still could work for you, right? I mean, if you have the verbal commitment.
Yes.
Yes.
Then we can get moving.
You can go through
on-
that process, but I think what we're saying is that we want some say in the final.
Absolutely. We would like you to work with us on materials and location and
Wonderful.
overall design.
Okay.
Very good. So we have the motion.
Need a second.
Yes.
Just one more comment. If they're going to sign an MOU that says that they're responsible for the maintenance, I'm not sure they can do that. I mean, if in fact RIPTA is saying we want a specific responsible party, they've got to bring the town into that. Because if they're not doing the maintenance, how can they sign an MOU saying they are? So, I mean, it's, I've had Amy working on this with the group. She's a member of the group. I'll continue to have her try to get this so that it works for everybody involved. But you know, we have to do it once and do it right.
Agreed. Do I hear a second?
Is- I am just curious about what you just said then. So,
I'm saying that
So they
that
can't
MOU is going
sign-
to have to be reviewed,
Right.
because there's conditions in that MOU which is establishing financial responsibility if, in fact, the facility isn't properly maintained in terms of a payback of the $40,000 in RIPTA dollars. There's also a second paragraph that deals with upkeep and maintenance. What Teresa would have to sign is a document saying that she's agreeing that her organization is accepting those specific terms of commitment.
right,
And I'm saying, I'm not sure how you do that,
right.
particularly when it's the first time that the town's heard that it was responsible for the maintenance.
Right.
So we're going to need to work with them on that MOU.
Yeah, I think there needs some clarification there, because usually it's towns that have their name on the whole MOU, it sounds like. Nevertheless, I am confident that we have the skilled professionals who can do that.
Make it part of the motion, though.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it. There we go.
All right, now that we have a second, I have a question. So, we earmarked this money, and something has to suffer for this, but that's only my opinion. Now, what if we don't approve the location and we don't approve the design? If we don't approve
Resolution
of
at
it?
this point that you have on the table is that you wouldn't convey the money.
Any other questions? All right, I think we're ready to vote. All in favor of Liz's motion on 13F, say aye.
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 Aye, with the contingency plan absolutely in place.
I'll go with NI, but I'm hesitant. I'm very curious about the location, and I'm certainly curious about the design.
Very good.
Certainly the main.
And a
Concerned
vote
about spending $7,500 of taxpayers' money.
to 0, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. That does bring us to the end of our agenda tonight. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
So moved. All in favor, say aye. Aye. By vote of 4 to 1, that carries.
We'd like to stay another hour, please.